Eastern on C-SPAN 2.
Former Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton and current presidential candidate Senator Cory Booker spoke earlier today at the annual Bloody Sunday commemorative service at the Brown Chapel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Selma, Alabama. This week marks 54 years since peaceful demonstrators were beaten by Alabama state troopers as they attempted to cross the Edmund Pettus Bridge.
This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Oh, and then let's get to work. I am so thrilled to be here with my friend and your Congresswoman and thank her for the work she is doing, the leadership she is providing, and the imperative that she understands has to be met to once again have a Voting Rights Act that protects and defends the right of every single American to vote. Bishop, thank you for being here and presiding over this. Reverend Strong, you have been a wonderful host. Thank you so much for opening once more Brown Chapel. To all the clergy, all the elders and deacons and everyone associated with this church, it is a great honor to be back among you, especially at this moment that is fraught with peril for our country. And Reverend Green, when those bones get up, and when that spirit is breathed into them, and they start climbing out of that valley, the first place they go is to register to vote. I am so grateful to be here with a long time friend of mine, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, who forged so many of the trails that others are still following today. And it's also a great personal pleasure to be here with Senator Sherrod Brown and his amazing wife, Connie Schultz, and my dear friend, Senator Cory Booker, who you will hear from in a minute, and I am not going to stand in the way of getting there fast. Because, you know, I've heard Cory preach. Oh, yeah. Oh, Mrs. Sewell, you know. I mean, you just get ready. But I want to say just a few quick things. Sherilyn, thank you. Thank you and LDF for this incredible commitment that you evidence every single day to protecting the fundamental, the foundational right that we all have. As I said at the breakfast earlier this morning, there is no way we can get to an economy that works for everybody, that produces good jobs and rising incomes and inclusive prosperity if we don't protect the right to vote. There is no way we can have guaranteed quality, affordable health care if we don't protect the right to vote. There is no way we could deal with any problem, whatever it is that you are worried about, if we don't protect the right to vote, and then if people don't get up and actually go to vote. And when you heard the report from the LDF, I hope you paid attention. Because I was in the Senate. Sherrod was there. I'm not sure if you were there yet, Cory, but we were there when we passed in the United States Senate 98-0 the reauthorization of the Voting Rights Act. We had a Republican president, George W. Bush, who said he would sign it, and he did. It was based on thousands and thousands of pages of testimony as to why we still, as a nation, devoted to the law and liberty that should guarantee every one of us equality, needed the Voting Rights Act. I thought it was a done deal. Passed out of the Congress, signed by a Republican president, and then it found its way to the Supreme Court, because I want you to just never forget, there is an other side in America, and they never give up. They never quit. They're never discouraged. They are motivated every single day to try to pull back rights, to try to suppress rights, to try to prevent people from fulfilling their own God-given potential. And so they did go to work. And when they went to work, they found a receptive Supreme Court who came up with the most absurd decision. There are a lot of absurd decisions, but this is, in many ways, the most absurd. The Congress is supposed to legislate based on evidence and facts, which we did, and then it gets up to the Supreme Court, and they say, you don't need that anymore. We don't need that voting rights stuff. You don't have to hold states and municipalities accountable. We're beyond all that now. What nonsense. Absolute absurd nonsense. And what was the result? They gutted the Voting Rights Act. I was the first person who ran for president without the protection of the Voting Rights Act, and I will tell you it makes a really big difference. And it doesn't just make a difference in Alabama and Georgia. It made a difference in Wisconsin, where the best studies that have been done said somewhere between 40 and 80,000 people were turned away from the polls because of the color of their skin, because of their age, because of whatever excuse could be made up to stop a fellow American citizen from voting. So we're looking toward a new presidential election, thank goodness. But it's not going to make a difference if we don't bring the lawsuits and win them, right? If we don't register everybody the way Stacey Abrams has been doing since 2014, I mean, just think about it. Between 2012, the prior presidential election, where we still had the Voting Rights Act, and 2016, when my name was on the ballot, there were fewer voters registered in Georgia than there had been those prior 4 years. Think about it, my friends. So we have a calling, a mission. We need to redouble our efforts for the 21st century civil rights movement. Don't just come to Selma once a year. Don't just walk across the bridge. Don't just join hands and sing. We've got to get to work. And that means registering every person, and it means persuading them, no matter how disappointed or discouraged they might be, that their future depends on them showing up to vote. Voting for leaders who will respect them and listen to them and work for them and produce for them. So let us celebrate this 54th anniversary, but let us not mistake what our mission must be. I too come from a faith tradition of being a doer, not just a hearer of the word. And I know that if we do our part, we can take back this country and put it back on the path that was begun and forged here in Selma 54 years ago. God bless you, Brown Chapel.
Appreciate you so much.